I do a lot of speaking, as you know, and I always say, I think what was once living to use turned out to using to live. The first 4 or 5 years of Prince Martin, I was a rock star. Didn't matter what it was, where it was, what event. People just gravitated towards me. And on top of it, if you're there with Smokin' Joe or Magic or Ali or Chevy, you're with the alphas of the alphas, the legends of all legends. So it was so easy networking with other stars and brands and agents. And we would co-agent deals, and they'd ask, hey, is it possible I could bring you opportunities too? And, split commissions and stuff like that. So I just built this incredible network. But I remember the day that it stopped working. Because I saw morality clauses, I stopped the illegal drugs when I started Prince Martin, but I legitimately had sciatica. So every doctor would give me opiates. I never knew what oxys were, but I started taking oxycontins. And I was with Smokin' Joe, may he rest in peace, Frazier, in Dallas. And we were going to a corporate event. And we're up in the room. And just like I always do, I chopped up a little 10 milligram oxy, put it on my hand and snorted it and just checked my nose out, make sure it was good. And I went downstairs with him. And normally it took 5 or 10 minutes. I didn't feel anything. I feel anything 30 minutes later. Now I start sweating. I'm like, the heck is going on? Do I take another one? Like my superpowers, it felt like it was kryptonite. From that day, I can never, ever reclaim that feeling. I wound up just taking and taking and taking to not get dope sick, to just numb. Started mixing it with everything you could imagine, from alcohol to sniffing Ambien at night to Oxycontins to Percocets. And I had my first major overdose in 2006. I was in Vegas at the time for NBA All-Star Weekend. And Dennis Rodman, we did a TV show deal with Mark Cuban called Geek to Freak. So we had an event that night. And I had a horrible case of bronchitis. So I called the doctor to the room, gave me a prescription for Tussinex cough syrup, which is an opiate-based cough syrup. For people that don't know, it was my favorite. And 100 Vicodins and some antibiotic. So I go to the pharmacy. I'm married at the time. I call my then wife. I said, do me a favor. Call room service. Get me 3 vodka Red Bull and cranberries. I'm going to go out tonight. I'm going to make it. I get back to the room, half a bottle of Tussinex, chopped up 4 or 5 Vicodins, snorted them. Down went 2 of the drinks. I'm thinking I'm fine as I'm getting ready. And all of a sudden, the dizziness, the palpitations, the sweating on my head, I fall down to the ground. I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like my heart's popping out of my chest. My then wife clearly panicked, called 911. All I'm doing is look up at the sky. God, don't take me. I don't know what the hell I just did. I'll never do this again. Paramedics came up, oxygen mask on my face, needles in my arm, EKG machine. I never made it out that night, clearly. And I woke up at 3 a.m, bags under my eyes, I'm bloodshot. And I go into the bathroom like, you sick bastard. I'm literally talking to myself like, what is wrong with you? How you're on top of the world in your career. Who does this? And with that, I opened up the top of the cough syrup, finished it, and I chopped up 4 more Vicodins, snorted them. And I went back to bed thinking it was the vodka Red Bull and cranberry that caused the overdose. And that's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Yeah. So I went back to New Jersey that week on my first moment of clarity, went to an addiction psychiatrist, told him what was going on. He put me on Suboxone. That was only supposed to be for a couple of weeks. I stayed on it over a year, but I lied to him too. I mean, who doesn't go to a psychiatrist and lie to the psychiatrist? Mm-hmm. That's what I did. So I'm snorting Ambien and I'm still drinking. I'm taking Xanax. I'm taking a mood stabilizer, an antidepressant from another doctor that I didn't tell him about. And I lived in that hell for probably about 14, 15 months until my God moment happened.
We're getting to the pivot point where you started seeing life through a lens of gratitude, and you can't do that until things change. So let's talk about how they changed.
So it was July 1st, 2008. My late uncle Stu and his then girlfriend Andrea visiting my mom in New Jersey. And they paid me a surprise visit. And this day was like no other day, like no different than anything else that ever happened. I knew I was sick and tired. I knew I was at the jumping off point. But my ego was too big to go to rehab because here I am, this so-called super agent with this crazy life. And I can't do it. The business won't survive without me. And she walks in. They surprised me to my condo. I never met her before. And for the first time in my life, she says to me, "Are you okay?" And I opened up to the strange woman like I never did before. I told her everything. And she's like, "Do you realize you're an addict? Your life's a manageable?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Do you realize you're powerless?" I said, "I do." And she starts pointing at all the pictures on the wall of me and Ali and Magic and all the superstars and all my accolades in the business, and says, do you realize this doesn't mean anything? None of it, because you don't mean anything to yourself. That broke my soul. And I started to cry. And she goes, it's okay, I can help you. Do you want help? I said, yeah. She reaches into her pocket and shows me a 5-year silver coin that she just got 2 weeks earlier. She was my savior. She said, I could help you, but you got to do everything I tell you to do. So she put me on a detox plan, and about 36 hours later, it was July 2nd, on a Sunday night. I was living at the Caroline Building in New York City with my then wife, and came back from the gym. I'm trying to work out 3-4 times a day, sweated out of me. I just couldn't do it. I get back to the apartment. I called them up. I said, I can't freaking do it. I'm calling the doctor. I got to get what I really freaking need to get. And they were back in Florida now and said, this is the goddamn disease talking. My uncle's yelling, put your damn ego aside already and surrender. Go to a 12-step meeting. I said, I can't do those stupid 12-step meetings. I've been there when I was 21. These people don't understand my life. Forget this. And I hung up the phone, ran into the bathroom, locked the door. Simone now thinks I'm going to overdose again. She's panicking, hysterically crying, banging on the door. Baby, don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm going through all the medicine cabinets to find some non-narcotic anxiety pills to ease the withdrawal symptoms that she told me I was okay to take. And out came 2 extra strength Vicodins out of one of the bottles, which was bizarre because we literally spent an hour the day before cleaning out every medicine cabinet and flushing it down the toilet. So that seemed like my spiritual awakening for a split second. I fell on my knees for the first time in my life. They were in this hand and literally shut my eyes. I'm sitting here like this and I scream out to God, take the money, take the business, take the notoriety. I need a single day of freedom. If you take me out of hell, I will spend one day at a time the rest of my life taking others out with me. And I had a white light moment that I never had before and I never had since because this shoulder caught fire. I'm deaf in my left ear. I recently had a cochlear implant here. At the time, I didn't have it. I hear in my right ear, I've got you and you're ready, as loud as can be. And I stood up and I flushed the pills. And I go into the living room. I Google 12-step meeting. There was no Uber. I go downstairs. I found one in the upper 80s at 8 p.m. And I'm in the cab on this gorgeous summer night looking up at the sky. Holy crap. For the first time in my life, I wanted to stay sober, whether I wanted to get high. And I walked in to a church basement with 150, 200 addicts and alcoholics who are once of a hopeless state of mind. And I heard the leader say, is there anybody new coming back or sick and suffering? And in front of a room full of strangers, I would say, I believe God raised my hand that night. And I said, I'm sick, I'm broken, I'm suicidal. And I've got so much to live for. And I don't know how to stay one day sober. And about a dozen spiritual brothers and sisters came over to me, literally right in the middle of the meeting, and were hugging me. They taught me about the 5 A's: attitude adjustment, accountability, acceptance, and action. They told me stick with the winners. They told me don't worry if I don't get the program right away, because if I keep showing up, the program's going to get me. And the one that blew me away was when they said, I had two of them that were right in front of me with their hands on my shoulders, giving me hugs. And they said, we're going to love you before you ever learn how to love yourself.
How do you stay living in the solution today?
It's more about the spirituality part of it. You know, I think for the most part, if there's not a health crisis, got luxury problems in life. So what, the deal didn't get done? So what, the flight got delayed or the weather's bad and the trip got canceled? As long as your kids are healthy and happy, as long as your family members, your loved ones. So for me to stay in the solution, it's always about that shift to understand that I've got luxury problems. I have to stay in a place of gratitude as much as possible. I got to meditate. I got to pray as much as possible. I have to stay in the middle of the 12-step fellowship. I have to raise money for my 501c3 to scholarship people. My big mouth could get me in trouble if I don't watch it. My sponsor, Steve, God bless him, he's got 37 years, old school Italian guy from North New Jersey that did time in prison and came out, and he saved my life and said, we find people like you dead. Money, notoriety, recognition, and power. Because you want to make it? I said, of course I want to make it. He told me this after 1 month. Word for word, he goes, lose the fucking ego. Because you ain't shit but a stone cold fucking junkie. And I felt everything said. I never forgot it. I don't mind telling myself that, because the business stuff, that's what I do. That's not who I am.